Hello and welcome to the webinar. My name is Jim Caldbeck. I'm the head of customer success at Mural. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm joined today by my co-hosts Amelia, Grace, and Matt. They will be helping demonstrate the capabilities of Mural. So I just wanted to cover a few things today. We have about 45 minutes. I wanted to look at what Mural is and how you can add content and look at some of the features of Mural. Then we'll show some examples to inspire you with some tasks and activities you can run with your own teams. And of course, we'll take your questions live as well too. So if you have any questions, please enter them into the questions pane of the webinar software. We're going to answer those throughout the webinar and take a pause and read some of those aloud as well too. I also want to point out we have a handout that's attached to the webinar software in the handouts section. This is our quick guide for learning Mural. You can also find that on our support site as well too. If you go to support.mural.ly, you'll find that and some other helpful information, including tutorial videos. So thanks again everyone for joining. Let's get started. You should be seeing my screen now. Mural is a large canvas, a board, a workspace that you can access right through your browser. You can see here when you start a new mural, it's empty, it's blank by default. And then what you can do is use the toolbar on the left-hand side. Those are where all of your content options are. You can add content from the left-hand toolbar. So if I wanted to do a brainstorming session, for instance, around the topic of how might we make remote teams feel closer? We're just going to think about that topic right now, and we're going to add some sticky notes to that. So that's our brainstorming topic, and then we might say, let's do happy hour at the same time. I can add another sticky note, so you can just grab these elements here from the left-hand side, but with sticky notes I can also just double-click. If I double-click, I get a sticky note, and I can say here, same flowers in different offices. So it's really easy to get your thoughts out digitally using the content elements in Mural, particularly the text elements over here on the left side, which is the first option in your toolbar. You can start adding text options here. Once you add something to a mural, it's also customizable. So you'll see if I single click on an element like this sticky note here, I can change its color, I can change the font size, font type, and some other properties as well too. I can make it bold. So once you add an element down here, you can customize it. I can even make a sticky note larger or smaller, which we don't recommend doing, but you'll see that comes in handy with images and some other things as well too. So in addition to the text elements on the left-hand side, we also have some lines and shapes and arrows. So I can connect two sticky notes together if I want, for instance. So I just connected these two sticky notes, and this arrow is a little sticky as well too, so it sticks to the second element that you connect it to. There are also some stickers here, so I can add if I want to add a check mark, for instance, or a thumbs up on some of these ideas. So the stickers add a nice qualitative layer of information on top of the brainstorming. I can also add some images. We have an image search integrated here. You could either type in a keyword and hit enter, and this does an image search on the web. So these are just web images here. This isn't a library or anything I have on my computer. It's simply a web search, but I can grab one of these images and bring it out here into the mural and position it wherever I want. So you have a lot of control and flexibility in Mural. To place things where you want, to resize them and customize properties as well too. So Mural is a large canvas that lets you get your thoughts out. You have complete control and flexibility of where and how you place the content, but you basically use the toolbar on the left-hand side to add content. You can also drag and drop from your desktop. For instance, if I want to add a PDF to this brainstorming session, I can just drag it right from my desktop or a hard drive on your computer. So you can see here, I'm just going to drop it here, and this PDF here now is in the mural. So I just added this PDF. That also works with images as well too. So I can just drag an image from my desktop as well. If I want to put this image in here, for instance, I can just go to my hard drive and drag it from the hard drive right into your browser. So Mural's not just a place to add text content and get your thoughts out, it's also a place to bring different types of content together. I can even add a link from the web as well. So I'm just going to do a quick search here for a YouTube video. So we have this YouTube video here, for instance. And I'm just going to copy this URL. So you see I highlighted that URL inside the browser. I'm going to do Control-C to copy it. Come back over to the mural, click on the background and do Control-V. Sorry, did that wrong. Control-V. And you can see here it added a thumbnail image and a link to that video. So you can add links to the web to Mural as well too. So it's content, images, PDFs, and other documents, as well as links to the web. You can arrange them however you want. You basically get a large blank canvas that you can start adding to. There are also a lot of shortcuts that you can use. So the delete key, for instance, if I want to delete this PDF here, I can just use the delete key on my computer, on my keyboard, and it will delete. If I do Control-Z, it'll come back. So a lot of the keyboard commands that you might be familiar with, Control-Z to undo, Control-Y to redo, Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste, a lot of those are built into Mural. And you can see all of the keyboard shortcuts that are available to you if you just type Shift and then the question mark, or just type the question mark, which is what I just did here, and you get this dialog that shows all of the keyboard shortcuts that are available to you. Control-Z, Control-C, Control-X for cut, and more as well too. So you can see all of the keyboard shortcuts that you have available to you. You can also find those here in the lower left-hand corner of Mural. You can find the question mark, and you'll see here there's a link to keyboard shortcuts. This, by the way, is a great way to get some help. We have some help articles here on our support site. Again, that's support.mural.ly. We also have a link here to chat with us, so you can get in contact with us from the left-hand side as well too. You might have been noticing that I'm kind of moving around on the mural, that I can move left or right by panning. So I can go over here and see what the other guys added to this mural. I can move up or down, so that's panning. You can pan around the mural. Again, it's kind of like a big virtual canvas that you get that behaves a little bit like Google Maps. If you're familiar with Google Maps, it has a similar type of interaction. But I can also zoom in and out. So let me just zoom out all the way just to show you how big a mural is. And you can see here, we were only working in the upper left-hand corner of the mural. It's actually quite large. You get a large virtual space that you can add content to. And you can see where you are in that space in the lower right-hand corner. The right-hand corner is what we call the mini-map, and this shows you a virtual kind of representation of the mural, and you can actually click around on this little grid here and it will pan around for you, and you can zoom and pan here with these plus and minus signs as well too. So the way that you zoom and pan, in my case, I'm using my mouse and my scroll wheel. If you have a trackpad, though, you can use the trackpad. And the way to use to change those settings are over here in the lower left-hand corner. If you click on your name or your avatar and then go to Account Settings, you'll see there's an option here in your account settings for controls. So I can go ahead and click on controls. And then you'll see two different modes of navigating, trackpad mode and mouse mode. I'm using the mouse mode right now, and that means that I zoom using the scroll wheel. And I pan by clicking on the background and grabbing it and moving it left or right. If you do have a laptop, like a Macintosh computer, a MacBook, you can pinch to zoom and pan with 2 fingers. So we recommend that you find the combination that's going to work best for you, either the mouse mode or the trackpad mode, but do get comfortable moving around a mural, zooming and panning, because you'll be doing a lot of it. Mural is a little bit different than a regular document that you may know of, like a Word doc or a Google doc, even online, because you'll be looking at the content at different scale levels. You'll be moving in to see the detail, panning around to see other areas of the mural, and then zooming out to see the big picture. So you'll be doing a lot of zooming and panning. And we recommend to keep the sticky notes at their default size. So this sticky note right here, weekly work from a cafe. I could make it larger if I wanted to be able to read it. Let me move down here first. I can make it larger so that I can read it at a distance way out here. I can make this sticky note really large if I wanted to. But that takes up more space of the mural. What we recommend to do is keep everything in a scale that works with the default sticky note size. And by that I mean the size of a sticky note when you grab it from the left-hand toolbar. You see that's the default sticky note size. We recommend keeping everything at that scale. Don't resize sticky notes. Keep things at that scale. And if you can't read something, zoom into it. So that's why it's really important that you get comfortable learning how to navigate by zooming and panning. Now, you might have noticed, it's hard to not have noticed, that my colleagues have joined me here in the Mural. Mural is a cloud-based application, works right in your browser. We have some other applications that will be released soon, including an iPad app and a mobile application. But right now, you'll be accessing Mural through your browser, and it's a cloud-based application, and everything is saved automatically and securely in the cloud. So any piece of content that gets added to the Mural is now accessible to everybody in the Mural at that time. So you can see the team of people down here. In the bottom center, you'll see their avatars right here. That's mine and Amelia and Grace and Matt. And we're all collaborating in real time with this content live in the Mural. Anything that Amelia adds or Grace adds, I can have access to. I can grab it and move it or comment on it or even delete it for that matter. So it's a very democratic system where everybody has equal rights in the Mural. And you'll see that we broadcast their murals, their cursors, so you can see where they are. So we can see Amelia moving around right now, and Matt's cursor and Grace's cursor will appear. So there you can see Matt. He's going to go grab something or add something over there. So you get a sense of the team and where they're working and what they're adding to the Mural as you're using Mural. We don't have any audio or visual capabilities, so we don't have an integrated conferencing system. So what we typically recommend to do is use Skype or WebEx or whatever conferencing system you usually use. Open that up so that you have at least an audio channel going with your team. You can talk through a problem, a brainstorming activity. And at the same time, if you have Mural where you're collecting your thoughts, you're gathering the information, you're trying to find patterns and make decisions, it really makes a remote session that much more collaborative and engaging. And it's even fun for that matter as well too. People like engaging with Mural. So if you're working in a remote team and you need to work visually on a creative problem or a planning problem, try using Mural on your next conference call. And it'll make the participation a lot more engaging. The way that you invite people to a Mural is in the upper right-hand corner. In the upper right-hand corner, you have a share button, and I get this share dialog. Now, there are two ways that I can share this Mural with other people. I can either send them this link. It's called the share link right here. I have it highlighted. I can just do Control-C, copy that, go over to my regular email program and send anybody who I want to bring into this Mural that link, and they'll be able to come in. Or I could type in their email addresses down here right now. So if I type Amelia and then hit send, our system, Mural, will actually send her an email to invite her with a link. If she clicks on that link, she'll come right to this email and be invited as well too. So there are two ways to get people into Mural, either by sending them the share link or by inviting them directly. You do need to use the share link. You can't use the link in your browser for security reasons. They need to access Mural through this share link over here. But once folks are in, as you can see here, we have 4 people in the Mural. We can all collaborate on the same content. Now we all have independent views of the Mural. So I could go down here into the lower right-hand corner, and I could work down here away from the rest of the group, and they could be up in the upper right-hand corner, left-hand corner, I mean. But there's also what we call follow me. There's a follow me feature. So if I click on Amelia's avatar, for instance, I'm just going to go down here in the bottom center, click on Amelia. I'm actually seeing what Amelia is seeing right now. So her viewport is actually being broadcast to me. So I'm not zooming and panning right now. This is all Amelia. And this is great for after doing independent work and then sharing it out. So you might do a thought exercise where everybody has to come up with 2 or 3 ideas on their own or a group of ideas on their own, and then you want to share about the content that you added to a Mural. You can enter the follow me mode. And then if you have a conference call going, you can talk through what you're presenting. But right now I'm not moving the mural. Amelia is controlling my viewport. And if I simply zoom in or out or click on the mural, I break that following feature. So it's really easy to share your content, and you don't have to share your screen. You can just open up Mural and then follow each other around in there. So we've built Mural not only as a place to get all of your thoughts out and content out in a digital format, but it's really fundamentally a collaboration tool. You can share the Mural with other people, invite them to come in here, work with them in real time or asynchronously, follow them around. And you know, have a fun, engaging, participatory collaboration session, even if you're not sitting in the same room. We've even built in a voting feature. So I just want to do a quick voting round here, and I'm going to go in the upper left-hand corner, click on Start Voting Session, and now as the initiator of the voting session, I can determine how many votes everyone gets. So we're just going to vote on those sticky note ideas, and I'm going to give everybody in the session 3 votes and hit Start. Now, everybody right now is seeing what I'm seeing on my screen. They all get this invitation to vote. Basically, you just have to click on any element to vote, and if you hit the Shift key and click again, you undo that vote. You subtract it. Now, the voting is secret and anonymous, so I'm going to go ahead and vote myself. I like that idea there. So you can see I just clicked on Same Flowers in Different Offices, clicked on that one. I like the video check-in as well too. Just going to read through some of these ideas. Yeah, okay, let's get out of the house and work from a cafe. So I cast my 3 votes. When everyone is done with the voting session, you can then end it simply by going to the option in the upper left-hand corner where you started, you end, and I'm going to say End Voting Session. Whoops, didn't click on it there. Not sure why I can't get that to end right now. Maybe somebody else can end it. There we go. There's just a little delay there, but you can see it's a fairly simple calculation for the system to just tally up where all of the votes fell. So we got 3 votes for this check-in through video every day on that element, 2 votes for this one, and then single votes on these. You can even vote on images. But after the voting session ends, you get this, this dialog here that shows you where all of the votes fell. And then if I close that, I go back to the mural. Now I can see where all of the votes fell. But it's still anonymous. I don't know who voted for what. But then what I can do now is I can actually copy these. Because everything's digital, I'm just going to select all of these and copy them with Control-C. And I can put all these to the side. So now I can now focus on the items that got the most votes. So you can really go from unstructured brainstorming to finding consensus and then fostering another discussion around the elements that we voted on that were the highest priority. Then we can take them through another activity such as prioritizing them. So we also try to help you move from getting all of your thoughts out in an unstructured way to finding patterns and making decisions. Great. I want to take a quick pause and ask Amelia to come on and see if there are any questions from the audience. Were there any questions, Amelia?
Yes, we have a question from Debbie. She's wondering if Mural is available on smartphones as well, or in what way it's mobile compatible.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have an iPhone app and an iPad app that are in beta. Unfortunately, we don't have any native app versions of Mural, but we do have a mobile web version. So if you're on your mobile phone and you get an invitation to a Mural, or you click on that share link for a Mural, you can still access it on your mobile phone right through your mobile browser. So if you have Chrome on your mobile phone, and by the way, Mural does work best on Chrome, so we recommend that you use Chrome. But if you have Chrome on your browser, on your mobile phone, you'll be able to open up the Mural and contribute a sticky note from your mobile phone. It's very limited functionality. Essentially, all you can do is contribute sticky notes at this point in time. We continue to develop that further, though. So it is possible to use your mobile phone to contribute to a Mural through the mobile web, and we hope to have those other apps out within the next months or so. That will have a native iPhone app that will be much richer, and you'll be able to participate in voting sessions and draw with your finger and all kinds of things like that as well too.
Do you have any? Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to ask my own follow-up question to this. What recommendations do you have for including mobile phones more in the process when working with a mural? Uh, like, can you use it for recording ideas that you've been working on, like physically, and import them into the mural, for example?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a couple of uses, even with this limited functionality mobile web version that I just talked about. There are lots of scenarios where you might be out, away from the office, away from your desk, out in a cafe or on the street somewhere. And if you're on the phone call with your colleagues and they're brainstorming or using a mural, you can still contribute to that mural in real time. But you can also think about it in an asynchronous way, and I think that's what Amelia was hinting at, that you can have your own mural set up or a mural that your team was collaborating in. And as you have a thought throughout the day, you can pull out your mobile phone as that thought occurs. You can add it back to the mural, even if you're not in the office. So if you're in a cafe or on the train somewhere and suddenly you have a great idea, the mural is always there if you have a link to it with your mobile phone, and then you can contribute ideas. You could also use that for personal reasons. If you wanted to remind yourself to do things. And once you add an idea from the mobile phone to a mural and come back to the mural, it'll be in a separate area on the mural, and then you can drag those sticky notes out into the mural. So we have this kind of holding area where mobile items or items that were contributed through the mobile phone come into the mural. So there are lots of different ways that you can use that synchronously, asynchronously, or even just for yourself as kind of a way to send yourself notes.
Yeah, and another
Great.
great way we've seen a lot of users use this for is as well. If you do a design studio, for example, and sketching ideas, you can take photos of these ideas and upload them into the mural as well as a great way to continue to comment on them and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the mobile phone, we actually recommend when you're working remote. You might have Skype or WebEx open on the one side, and you have Mural open on the other side in a browser. And use your mobile phone to supplement your interaction as well too. If you have a chat function, for instance, inside of your company, you can have that on your mobile phone. But as Amelia just suggested as well too, you can use the camera on your phone to take pictures of your surroundings or of sketches that you're doing. And because you can just drag and drop right from your desktop, if you have a shared folder somewhere, you can take a photo and right from that shared folder then on your desktop, bring it on your computer, you can bring it right into the mural as well too. Great. I'm gonna move on, but we'll take some more questions. Thanks for those questions. What I wanted to do now was show a few examples of what you can do with Mural. But actually, before I do that, I just wanted to show one more quick feature. So I wanted to show how you can cut and paste from a spreadsheet. So if I had a separate document, in this case, I have a Google spreadsheet here. If I had a separate document with maybe some items, in this case for the brainstorming topic, how might we make remote teams feel closer, I had this list of items that I had already created before the session started. Let's say I wanted to add this to the mural. What I can do is highlight those cells, do Control-C, so I copied them from this spreadsheet. I'm going to go back over to the mural now, so I clicked on the mural background and do Control-V. You'll see what it did is it took each one of those cells in the spreadsheet and it put them on a separate sticky note. So now I have that list in another document. I have it now in my mural, and now I can work with this as well too. So I can move from from one document, and that works also with any list or bulleted list. It'll put them on separate sticky notes, and I can start moving them around here. I can even group them into what are called areas. If I do a multiple select by hitting Shift, all you have to do is hit the Shift key, and you can select multiple elements, and then right-click. So if I right-click, I get a second menu of options. One of them is organized into area. Might just call that pros and cons or something like that. What I get is an area, which is kind of a container or a bucket that keeps elements together in a contained area in a structured way. I can recolor those as well too. So you can move really quickly from a list outside of Mural to a list inside of Mural. And if I want to do that in reverse, I can do that as well by selecting multiple sticky notes and then clicking on this copy as text here. So if I click on copy as text and then go back to my spreadsheet, If I go back to my spreadsheet, you'll see here I can do Control V and copy those items from individual sticky notes into a spreadsheet as well too. I'm going to move on to a couple of examples. We can get to some of your other questions as we go. So here's an example of a mural that's completed. So I wanted to start off by showing you what Mural is and how you add content, but now I want to look at some examples to maybe inspire you or give you some ideas how you might be able to use it in your own work. Let me zoom out on this mural, and you can see here we did a brainstorming session on that same topic. So this might be kind of the conclusion. If the group of us here today were to keep going, we might end up with a mural that looks something like this. You see the team up here in the upper left-hand corner. On the left, we did a brainstorming session, and this is labeled as such here in this large header. But if I zoom in, I can see some of those brainstorming ideas here. So this is kind of unstructured. Everybody's just getting their ideas out. And then we use those areas that I just showed you. I showed you that area feature here to cluster the ideas. So there were some themes that started to emerging. And if you know about affinity clustering, you can use these areas and affinity clustering to find patterns. So games and playing, fun things was a pattern that emerged over here. And then we did a vote, and here are the voting results. We copied those sticky notes that got the most votes. We can have another discussion about them down here. And if I move further down, we even put things on a small timeline. Over here on the left, I included some links. So this is kind of my reference section or further links section as well too. There's even a PDF document in here as well too. So if I zoom out, I can see there are 4 areas, distinct areas to this mural. Over here, the brainstorming that we did, then we moved to affinity clustering, then we voted and prioritized. And that's really, I think, the best way to think about Mural. It's not about doing one activity, but actually using the large virtual space that we give you to actually chain activities together, tie separate steps together. If you're doing design thinking, for instance, you can do personas and empathy maps and journey maps and have that all in one place. And of course, once everything is digital, it's shareable, it's archivable, it's traceable. You can go back and see who said what, when, and you have a record of your session, and it's a visual record. But because it's digital, you can loop in other teammates who may not be on location or at the same site with you, and you're working with a distributed team. So a brainstorming session, I think, is something we see a lot of customers doing, a lot of people doing brainstorming sessions in Mural. But you might also do things like design thinking activities. In this case, this is an experience mapping activity. Again, you'll see here we used the entire mural to do 4 different activities. We looked at a stakeholder map here in the upper left, then we did some personas, then we did some empathy maps. But here in the center, we have journey maps. In this case, we were looking at going to the supermarket by bicycle. And what would Jake's experience be here? So Jake is our persona, and we can look at the steps and the feelings and the pain points at each stage in his experience of going to the supermarket by bicycle. Notice here we also included the images, so we have this kind of rich, high-fidelity description of his journey from our research as well too. And then we can even move into brainstorming right down below, based on the opportunities and pain points, what ideas can we come up with? So again, zoomed out, I can't see all of that detail, but I can see that there are 4 areas here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can then zoom in to see the detail. If I wanted to see this empathy map, I can zoom in. So again, you'll be moving around, panning and zooming quite a bit in Mural at different levels of fidelity. At this level, I get the overview. If I zoom in a little bit more, I see the section. If I zoom in more, then I can see and work with the content. So we can tend to think about things in kind of 3 or 4 different levels of scale that you can work at. Let me show you another example. This is related but slightly different than experience mapping. This is something called user story mapping. And in this case, we started with personas down here at the bottom. So we kind of started at the bottom and worked our way up the mural. We were looking at an agile team, was looking at an app for a teacher and instructor to manage homework broadly. And we had these 2 persona. This is the teacher, the instructor, and Emma is the student. But then what we did here at the top of the mural is we looked at the journey or the interaction that the instructor would have with the application. They have to log in, then search and browse, then view the list, and all the set steps and sub-activities that he has to do. But what we were ultimately trying to do was sort our user stories. So if you know agile development for software, that breaks things down into individual stories, which is a great way to manage a project because you can see progress and you can manage the development effort a lot better. But you also lose the big picture. So what user story mapping does is it tries to give you the big picture and look at stories, the functionality that you're developing in terms of the user journey, which is here at the top. And from this, you can then derive epics and have conversations around releases and things like that as well, too. So user story mapping, great to do with a remote team. We have a little case study on our blog where we did that with one of our customers, a team that was distributed between Europe and the US, and we were able to effectively collaborate visually in a user story mapping exercise. One more quick example, we've also worked with things like Lean, and in this case Lean UX. We partnered with Jeff Godhealth to do some Lean UX activities. We were looking at coming up with hypotheses in this particular example, and we did this exercise with a completely remote team. So the team was literally scattered around the world. And we were still able to move from, what are the business outcomes, the metrics that we want to change, to the persona, to the user outcomes, and then to the features. So we actually worked back from the outcomes to the features. And then we wanted to come up with experiments. The first part of coming up with experiments in Lean is to come up with a hypothesis statement to be able to then validate your assumptions. So we created these hypothesis statements. And again, we did this collectively as a team on a conference call, but used Mural as the platform, as the background, as the whiteboard to do all of the visual collaboration. So there are lots of different ideas and use cases that you can imagine to use Mural for. We typically see people doing things like design thinking, innovation, creative work, design work as well too. You can think about putting mock-ups here in Mural. We've very often seen people put screenshots of an existing application or of a new application, line them up in Mural so that you can see them all back to back. Effectively, anything that you might do on a flip chart or a whiteboard in the office, you can think about doing in Mural and more, because you can add video and links and images as well. You can think about extending the whiteboard not only into your browser but into the digital space as well too. So I think I'm going to pause there for a second and see if there are any more questions, Amelia.
Yes, we had a question from Laura regarding these templates that you showed. Could you show us a bit maybe how you went about to create these templates? What types of tools did you use, and how did you think when planning how much space to use for each of the activities?
Sure, that's a great question. I'm going to actually go back over to the demo mural that we started here and use that as an example, because this was blank, right? We started filling this out with ideas already. But the way that I created those templates was just actually using the shapes and the arrows and the content that's built into Mural. So we can use the header here, and maybe this was the first step that I wanted the team to do, so I'm going to put a number 1 in this black circle here, make that large, put a line under this, or circle or box around this section. So I'm basically just using the shapes and the arrows that are built into Mural. If we wanted to do a prioritization over here, I'm just going to say prioritize. So I'm just going to put another header over here. That'll be step number 2. And what you need to do is kind of take a step back and look at the steps and the activities that you want to bring the team through, and then lay them out across the mural. You might have to move things around at first. So we want to move from the brainstorming to prioritizing, and then think about scale, like I was talking about. From a distance, I want to be able to read these headlines, so I'm going to make them really large. So headers in Mural tend to be quite exaggerated, and that's at the overview level, right? When I'm zoomed all the way out, I want to be able to read those headers. But if I zoom in, I want to be able to read the sticky notes. So what I'm going to do is just put a sticky note here just for some scale so I can see how big, how much space I need. So I want to prioritize the ideas after we've come up with the ideas. And I can also use the frameworks over here on the left-hand side. I didn't talk about those before, but that's your fifth option here on the left-hand toolbar. You have what are called frameworks. And these are pre-formatted grids and diagrams that you can drag out right into the mural and get started really quickly. We have some basic shapes here, like a 2x2 grid. Under the business tab, there are also things like the business model canvas. There are also persona and some other frameworks over here under the design tab, and we also have some calendars as well too. So you can drag out a calendar and get started right away with your planning exercise. But in this case, I just want to drag out this 2x2 grid and just call this the priorities or prioritization grid. And then what you can do is you can add the sticky notes right to these frameworks. So the frameworks have a special property in that they're sticky, and that anything you add to it will stay on the framework. So these frameworks are a great way to get started as well too. If we don't have a framework, the exact framework that you're trying to work with, you can also just use the lines and the shapes that are in Mural. For instance, if I need to make a table, a special table, a custom table, I can just take a series of lines here. I'll just do that real quick, and I'm just copying and pasting these lines multiple times. So I created a line. I know I want it to be that big. I can select them, copy them. Let me get rid of that sticky, and just quickly create a table in Mural. In this case, just some rows. But then what I can do is actually lock these down. So after you've kind of mapped out your space and your steps here, so we want to go from brainstorming to prioritization to planning. Once that's all in place, you can lock all of that down. So people don't have to interact with this title, for instance. What I can do is just select these elements and then right-click. If I right-click on any element or group of elements, I'll get this lock option. And what locking does is it prevents it from being moved around. So now it's locked down to the background of the mural, and we can add sticky notes or whatever on top of this. So this is kind of now in the background, and it's locked down. So anything I add now will be not interacting with that. And I also can't grab it, so I can't use my mouse to grab that. It's kind of frozen in position. So it's really just a matter of taking a look at the mural, take a step back and zoom all the way out, and then planning out the steps that you want to go through. So we wanted to do brainstorming, prioritize, and then put that on a calendar. Thinking about how much space you'll need, creating large headers to label each of these sections, and then using the shapes and the arrows in Mural to either create a grid or a table or use those frameworks. The frameworks are a really quick way to get started. I recommend that you go ahead and explore those and see the different options that are there. For instance, if you wanted to do a project retrospective, you could just use this feedback grid, and I'll just bring this feedback grid out over here, and I'll just put this in as a placeholder. Maybe after our project we want to do some feedback on this. And I can use this feedback grid, which looks at what worked well, what needs to change, what was unanswered, and what should we try new next time. And again, if you put sticky notes on here, these will stick on there as well too. So using the shapes and the arrows and the text elements that are built into Mural, but also the frameworks, that's how we create those templates. So that was a long answer, but that's a really important question. So I'm glad we got that question, Amelia. Are there any more questions that folks have?
Yes, Patty was wondering, how can you ensure that your content that you create in Mural stays safe, that you don't share it with the wrong people? Maybe we can go through the permissions.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. Everything is saved automatically and securely to the cloud. And you'll see here in the upper left-hand corner, you see it says all changes saved. Anytime you do something to the mural, it recognizes that action and then it saves it about a second later. So everything is saved automatically. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to leave the mural. So far we've just been demonstrating kind of the core application of Mural, but I want to go to my dashboard or the overview of Murals. And the way that I do that is I use the button in the upper left-hand corner called Go to My Murals. If I click on that, I'll go to a list of all of my murals, and this is where you can manage your murals as well as your account. So you'll see here in the center I have thumbnail images of all of the murals that I have access to. And if I double click on any of these, I'll access that mural. So you can access them from here. But on the left-hand side, you also see that there are rooms. So you can think about these like folders, and this is the way that you can organize your murals and then navigate them. There are two types of rooms. One is a private room, and the other is a team room. Team rooms are open to anyone who's invited to your account. So anyone who's in your team, in your mural team, will have access to these rooms. The private rooms, however, are by invite only. And the way that you can change the settings is, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new room. You'll see there's a create room option down here. If you don't have that option, that means the team administrator hasn't given you the rights to create a room. But if you do have the rights to create a room, you can, I'll just call this test room here. But you'll see here that there's an option to change from a public room to a private room. So I can make this room either public or private. If I make it private, it'll show up in the private rooms. And then only folks who have been invited to that room can join. And on the next screen, this is where I can then invite people to this room, right? So if I want our colleague Megan to join this room, I can type her name in here, and I'll send out the invitation to the room. I'm not going to do that right now, but you see here now I'm in the test room, and it tells me that here in the upper left-hand corner. And this is a private room, so it should show up here under my private rooms, and there it is down here on the left. This is in my private rooms now. So I have this private room that's invite only, and I can change those settings in the room settings as the team administrator, the person who created the room. I can go back into room settings, and if I want to make that public, I can do that as well too. So if you have something that you don't want everyone in your team to see, create a private room. Now, a team is, let me just go back to the dashboard. A team is kind of the highest level in the hierarchy of managing your murals. You have a team, and that's effectively your account with us. If you have a separate account with Mural, this is effectively what your account is. And you can see here, I actually belong to a lot of different teams, so you can switch teams here. And then within each team, you have public and private rooms. And then within each room, you have murals as well, too. So the hierarchy is teams, rooms, and then murals. And there are permission settings. You can make those private or public at different at each level. So the team is only by invite, and anyone who accesses a mural, so if I invite someone to a mural, they'll also then be part of my team. So there are no orphan murals or murals that aren't part of a team or a room. A mural always has a room or a team that it is attached to, and anybody who accesses that mural will also be in that room and in that team as well too. But you have control over the permissions at each one of those levels. You could read more about the permission settings on our support site, support.mural.ly. There's a nice article explaining all of the permission settings in Mural there. I think we have time for another question, Amelia.
Sure. I just posted a help section article in the chat section as well, so if you want to read more about permissions, you can find it there. We had another question from Maria. She's wondering, how can you download or export your murals? What do I do if I want to, for example, print it out or put it in a presentation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was talking before about copying the text of a sticky note, right? So if I select these sticky notes by holding the shift down, I can select multiple sticky notes. I have this copy as text option, and that allows me to put it into a Word document. So that's one way to get some of the content out of the mural. But we also have two export or download functions. And if you go to the menu just to the left of the name, just to the left of the mural name in the upper left-hand corner, there's a small arrow. From that arrow, you'll see two options here. One is export as image. And what that does is it takes the entire mural and it encapsulates it as a single image. It's a high-resolution image of about 10,000 pixels across, but it is then just a big flat file. It's a picture, effectively, of your mural and all the content on it. The other option is to download mural files. If I select this option, what it will do is generate a zip file, so a compressed file in zip format that includes an HTML document, hypertext markup language document, effectively raw text in an HTML file of all of the content on the mural by content type. So it'll say, here are all of the stickies, here are all of the headers that you had, and you have that plain text file. In addition, it'll put any images or PDFs or any other multimedia that you had in a separate file. In that zip file. So you get an HTML document plus all of the images. So you can download the content of the mural as well too. So those are your two key download options. If you wanted to print it out, I suggest try export as image and then print it out. Depending on the resolution that you're printing out or not, it may or may not be blurry. If you're going for a very large poster, for instance, that may be more difficult. But if you're just printing out on a regular piece of paper, you can do that right from the image. How about another question before we wrap up, Amelia?
Yes, we have a question from Peter here. How did you do those drawings in the mural? In the sticky notes?
That's a great question. Right now, I'm using the web version of Mural. I'm using it on my browser, on my computer, my laptop computer right now. And in that version of Mural, you can draw on sticky notes only. So I just added the sticky note. Let me zoom into it. And I have this option here to switch to Sketch. So what I can do then is, sorry, I actually clicked off of it. What I can do is I can actually sketch right on here. So I'm just using my mouse to sketch. If you have a trackpad, if you're using a laptop computer and you're using a trackpad, you'll be able to sketch with your finger. It's a little hard to sketch with your mouse, but you can do it. We hope to be soon adding more sketching capabilities so that you'll be able to draw on the background of the mural. But currently today, when you're using the web version, that is the browser version, I should say, of Mural, you're not able to sketch on the background of the mural. But you can do these drawings, these sketches on sticky notes. If you have a Windows 10 computer, though, we do have a Windows 10 app, and the Windows 10 app lets you draw right on the background of a mural. So you can just take a pen. If you have like a Microsoft Surface Hub, for instance, you can take a pen and draw right on the mural itself. We also have an application for the Microsoft Surface Hub, and if you missed our our monthly webinar, What's New at Mural yesterday, we demoed that as well too. Maybe we can put that link in the chat for the What's New at Mural webinar that we did yesterday. And what you'll see there is our folks using the Microsoft Surface Hub, which is a large 84-inch touchscreen monitor that allows for drawing as well too. So depending on what device you're using, you'll have different drawing capabilities. Most often, I guess most people here on the call will be using their browser, and in that case, you're limited to only drawing on a sticky note like we just did here. When our iPad app comes out, we want that to be to incorporate a lot of drawing capabilities with your finger right on the iPad. So we do have some drawing capability right now in limited ways, and it depends on the type of device you're using. But in the future, we'll be increasing that. And with the mobile apps like the iPhone and the iPad, you'll be able to draw with your finger. So more drawing should be coming in the near future. But thanks for that question. I see we're a couple minutes over time. So thank you, Amelia, and thanks, Grace and Matt, for joining us today and helping out with the brainstorming session. And thanks, everyone, for joining online. We hope this was informative. You can reach out to us at support@mural.co, support@mural.co. You can also contact us, again, in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. You can contact customer support and chat with us right through Mural and reach out and contact us. I also recommend checking out some of the videos that we have on our blog, on our support site at support.mural.ly. Support.mural.ly. You'll find some videos and articles of the things that I talked about and a lot more. We also give regular webinars and events, and we write about remote collaboration on our blog. That's blog.mural.ly. For instance, I just mentioned the What's New at Mural webinar that we gave yesterday. You can find a whole recording of that where we demo the Microsoft Surface Hub in a recording on blog.mural.ly. So we hope this was informative. Please reach out to us. We're here to answer your questions and take a look at some of the videos and tutorials that we have. And we hope that you enjoy Mural. And if this was helpful to you, let your colleagues know. We're here every Thursday at noon Eastern Time or 9 Pacific Time. That's 5 p.m. in the UK or 6 p.m. in Europe. If this was useful to you, let your colleagues know. It's free and open to everyone. And with that, then, I think we'll end the webinar. So thanks, everyone, for joining, and goodbye. Until next time.